Ladies and gents, the time has finally come. I'm saying goodbye to my 2022 Toyota GR86. I'm gonna go over what I love about the car, things I wasn't so fond of, and why I actually ended up changing my mind about keeping this car long-term and turning it into a really dedicated, hardcore track toy. This is the base model. I added a paint-matched lip spoiler myself. I have some NKTS 10 wheels, but we're on the stock wheels and rubber right now. You can see that I got tow hooks front and rear, and we got CSG brake pads as well as a Jackson Racing oil cooler. Oh, and also front camber bolts. So not too crazy, pretty stock for the most part. And even though I'm getting rid of this car, I will maintain that for the price, for $30,000, this car is an absolute steal. No doubt about it. The way it drives, the driver reward, it's a very good all-rounder. In fact, it is super practical. You guys may know I had a 2013 Scion FR-S. I kept it for 9 years. 9 years, and then you know what I replaced it with? This car last year. So I've been driving some variant of the 86 platform, either the FR-S or the GR86, for over 10 years now. 10 and a half years, and I've had this car for a year and a half. I realized I wasn't putting that many miles on it. It's a year and a half old. I have 7,000 miles, and I think part of the reason is that it is such a good single-purpose all-around vehicle. If you're a young car enthusiast, those are those CSG brake pads. And you need a single vehicle to do it all. It's really hard to beat this. It drives better than the American muscle cars, more rewarding and engaging. It's far more practical than a Mazda Miata. In a Miata, I would feel a little bit sketched out if I was driving that day to day, just for safety reasons. This car, a little bit more hefty, 2,800 pounds, hard top, a lot of space in the back when you fold the seats down. In my FR-S, I used to put my bike back there. I don't longer do that because I have a CX-50. And ultimately, I realized this car just wasn't hardcore enough. I have a CX-50 that I drive daily, and I want my second vehicle, the sports car, the fun car, to be a little bit more hardcore, feel like a little bit more of an occasion. I don't want it to be so refined, I don't want it to be so comfortable, and this car is fantastic for that. I could drive this daily and not feel like I'm being punished, but as I've reviewed a lot of your cars, I've come to realize that what makes for a great sports car, a great weekend car, is oftentimes the exact opposite of what makes for a good daily driver or frequent commuter car. So I want something a little bit more raw and visceral and loud and kind of crazy. And I could have done that with this car. I could have really modded it, made it a little bit more hardcore. But there were two things that were making me hesitant to do so. Number one is that the engine, even though it's far improved from the first gen, it's not the most characterful, emotional, visceral car. And as we're moving towards an EV future, I want to enjoy that. I want to make the most of whatever internal combustion engine vehicle I have, especially if it's a sports car. And the second thing is the engine failure issues. And at the very beginning, we did a podcast episode, and they're like, you know what, this is not a very common thing. Don't be too concerned about it. But over the last year and a half, we've seen many more engine failures, and it tends to happen in those that are pushing the car harder on track. And I do go to the track frequently, and I beat on my car. You know, I take care of it, but like I'm driving it hard, right? And I was concerned that I don't want to have any issues with engine failure. And the other part is that I've been driving this platform for over 10 years, and it's time for me to expand my horizons and see what else is out there. So what's next? Well, first of all, my Lotus Emira is set to be delivered in January. I'm expecting some delays, so I'm guessing it'll probably be a little bit after that. But we have a VIN number. I'm very excited for that vehicle. That's going to be my mid-engine rear-wheel drive weekend toy. And I do still want a front-engine rear-wheel drive as well, because those have a certain kind of handling dynamic. if you like power oversteer and you're familiar with that. So I do want to replace this with another FR sports car, because I have space. I have a 3-car garage, so I have space for 3 cars. And right now, I'm leaning towards an S2000. Because when I go back on my Jubbal and Cars Driving Index, and you guys can find that linked below any of these videos, you'll see that the top-rated cars are either super expensive Porsches and Ferraris and crazy cars like the Ariel Atom, or they're S2000s. Because the S2000, when it is modified properly, is such an amazing, amazing and rewarding vehicle to drive. And again, I care much more about driving experience and engagement and reward more so than just straight line speed. If I want straight line speed, I can always supercharge an engine and yada yada yada. But my buddy Eric has this S2000 that he track prepped with Aero, and it is such an amazing and rewarding car to drive. And replacing this with something like that, that's going to be much more expensive because of all the modifications that went into it, that would leave me a little bit more excited to take my track toy or my sports car out on the weekends more frequently. Because this car, I was looking at, I use Fuely, which is this app to track your fuel efficiency and service intervals and such, and I actually just use it for the fuel ups. But I saw that in the second half of this year, I really wasn't driving it much. I've only had a few fill-ups, you know, for a couple track days. And other than that, you know, maybe I've driven it to a Cars and Coffee once or twice. I haven't been driving this car much. And if I'm not driving it and not getting that much enjoyment out of it, it's time to let it go. First half of the year, I was definitely driving it more, and I was going to a lot more track days with this because I had just done those modifications of the tires, the wheels, the camber bolts. The other things that I have considered would be a Lotus Elise, which was also very high up on that JCDI, Jubbal and Cars Driving Index. But then it's also a mid-engine rear-wheel drive vehicle. But it is a lot lighter and a lot more raw and visceral than the Lotus Emira. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm just looking for a more hardcore driving experience. And this car in this day and age is so good for what it is. But what I'm looking for is one of those more old school, you know, a decade old plus kind of vehicles where it's a different time. And I want to get beat up a little bit when I'm driving the car. I want to exit the car and feel exhausted. I want to feel like, damn, that was hardcore. Damn, that was an experience I don't need to have for another week or two. That kind of thing. So I'll be posting it on Facebook and Craigslist. We'll see how that goes. But I'll also check out those car buying and reselling companies. I've never worked with them before. You know, CarMax, Vroom, and the like. And we'll go from there. But it's been a great run, my friends. Again, this vehicle is fantastic. If you're considering it or you own it, I'm not getting rid of the car because I don't think it's a fantastic car. I think for the price, it is insane value. Only thing that really bothers me compared to the first gen is the steering in this is not as good. But excellent car, and it is time for me to move on. After 10.5 years saying goodbye to the A6 platform. Much love, my friends. Leave a comment down below. What do you think I should get to replace this vehicle? Much love, and I'll see you all in the next one.